Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 7 p.m. on LA56.
Violence breaks out near an Orange County school. At least 2 teens are stabbed and a suspect is on the run.
It's been a busy afternoon for firefighters throughout the area as winds fan the flames of several fires.
One of LA's most beloved athletes, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, undergoes quadruple bypass heart surgery. Good evening, I'm David Ono.
I'm Michelle Tuesey in for Colleen Sullivan. This is Eyewitness News on LA56, LA's only live local newscast at 7 p.m. We begin with a violent brawl that erupted outside a school in Santa Ana. At least 2 teens were stabbed, and the search is now on for suspects. It happened at 3 p.m. right after school let out at an intersection near Community Day Intermediate School in Santa Ana. Police say about 24 teens were involved. A 14 and a 17-year-old were stabbed and rushed to a hospital. A third reported stabbing victim has not been found. The suspects then took off into a nearby neighborhood.
We conducted a house-to-house search of a neighborhood just east of here. We had information that the suspects may have went into those residents and hid. We've located 3 individuals that we're detaining, trying to find out exactly what started the fight, who was involved. Was there 1 stabber, 2 stabbers?
2 of the 3 suspects that were detained have so far been arrested, but at this time not for stabbings. Investigators are looking for a 3rd suspect and the knives used in the attack.
A large explosion in Fresno has left nearly a dozen people injured in closed sections of a Central California highway. It happened at 2:30 this afternoon at the Fresno County Sheriff's gun range. Authorities say crews were using heavy equipment in the area at the time when a gas line exploded. It's not known what caused the explosion, but witnesses reported seeing a huge fireball shooting into the air. 11 people were taken to the hospital, including inmates who were working nearby. Most suffered burns. And 2 homes have been damaged by a fast-moving fire in San Pedro. The flames broke out in a home along the 700 block of West Oliver Street this afternoon. The high winds caused them to spread to a second home. Fire crews responded and got a handle on the blaze in about 45 minutes. There have been no reports of injuries. The cause of this fire is still under investigation.
A series of brush fires have been keeping crews busy today. The largest was in Corona, where crews used water-dropping helicopters and air tankers to contain a fire burning near Green River Road and the eastbound 91 freeway. No homes or structures were threatened. And this was the scene late this afternoon in Malibu. A pair of fires broke out, one on Canaan Road just north of PCH, and the other in the Newton Canyon area. Crews quickly brought things under control. Meteorologist Dallas Raines is here now with a first look at our weather. Dallas.
Thanks, Michelle. Yes, we dropped the red flags today, but we still had some gusty winds coming in from the ocean. We have a beautiful shot tonight down at Laguna Beach. Skies are mostly clear. Looking at the wind velocities at this hour, down at Long Beach, we're looking at a west wind at 16. But notice, friends, all of the winds now are coming in from the ocean, and they're not coming from the continent. That's when you get those strong Santa Ana winds, very dry. So we have some big changes coming in the weather. I'll have your weekend forecast and a look ahead, David and Michelle, to a chance of some rain in Southern California. I'll have that in just a minute.
That would be awesome, Dallas. Thank you.
Thanks.
Lakers legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is in the hospital recovering from quadruple coronary bypass surgery. He was admitted to Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center with cardiovascular disease and underwent the surgery yesterday on his 68th birthday. Abdul-Jabbar is recovering and is expected to make a full recovery. In a statement, he said he's looking forward to getting back to his usual activities soon. He also asked people to keep him in their thoughts and, most importantly, cherish and live each day to the fullest. Michael Cooper, who won 5 NBA championships with Abdul-Jabbar, spoke to his former teammate just Wednesday morning.
I talked about, the situation I had been through with the tongue cancer and everything, and I told him that I was doing great, and then we kind of rehashed those times when we played and got a couple of chuckles, but he sounded good to me. He didn't sound like anything was wrong, and he didn't mention that anything was wrong with him. And so when I get the call that he had been in the hospital for triple bypass surgery, I am shocked about that. So, again, I hope he's doing well, and I'm just praying for him and hoping the best now.
And the Lakers tweeted, "Keep KAJ33 in your thoughts," after he underwent quadruple bypass surgery this morning.
A parole hearing today for a convicted serial killer. The victims' families as well as prosecutors are not only fighting his parole, they are also hoping a victims' rights law will help prevent him from getting another hearing for a very long time. Orange County Bureau Chief Eileen Frere explains.
This man should never be allowed out To Lynette Duncan, Brett Thomas is a serial killer who robbed her of her family nearly 40 years ago. She recalls having to tell her 11-year-old sister that their father, Aubrey, had been shot and killed in their doorway. Their 18-year-old sister, Denise, was also dead. Their mother, Nadine, shot and injured.
That's the day that she learned that the boogeyman existed and that evil was real.
Thomas and Mark Kitch went on a 9-day killing spree in 1977, murdering 4 innocent strangers during robbery or burglary attempts in Orange County. Thomas, now 56, is up for parole.
There was just so much pain that you cannot even imagine. And whenever we have a parole hearing, I have to relive that pain all over again.
Duncan, the Orange County District Attorney, and victims' rights leaders have traveled to San Diego to ask the parole board not to let him out. The DA says while in custody, Thomas has violated nearly 60 prison rules, including violence and drug-related violations.
He poses an unreasonable danger to the public.
Since Marcy's Law was passed in 2008, victims' family members have more input during the parole process. The law sponsored by Henry Nicholas after his sister Marcy's murder.
The parole board now has the option, after denying parole, to defer a follow-up hearing for up to 15 years.
I will continue to appear at every parole hearing until he dies or I do.
The co-defendant, Mark Kitch, died last year in prison. In Santa Ana, Eileen Frere, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
An LA court has released the video of Suge Knight running over 2 men back in January. It comes just a day after Knight was ordered to stand trial for murder. The surveillance video shows Knight's vehicle back up and hit Cleabone Sloan. Then it moves forward and slams into Terry Carter. He was killed. Knight has pled not guilty. His attorney says he was trying to get away from an ambush by Sloan and others. Detectives say photos released of Knight after the incident show no serious injuries. Meantime, a police interview with Sloan at the hospital describes the scene.
You said the vehicle ran you over as it was moving forward.
For sure it ran me over.
Is there a chance it ran you over moving backwards?
I don't know. I know I saw some white tail lights.
Okay. So how soon before you remember feeling pain as if you were ran over did you feel the white tail lights?
Got that, Sam? It was kind of like I'm on my back and then it's like, boom, I'm just getting ragdolled.
In court Monday, Sloan said he didn't remember what happened and refused to identify Knight as the driver, saying he didn't want to be a snitch. In the wake of the officer-involved shootings, the state's top law enforcement official is taking on the crisis of confidence between law enforcement and the public. Attorney General Kamala Harris is launching a new effort to rally law enforcement across the state. Eyewitness News reporter Rob Hayes has the Attorney General's comments.
From Missouri to South Carolina to here in Los Angeles. Deadly cases of officer-involved shootings have sparked public outcry, raising questions of police bias and unnecessary force. It's an issue California's top cop, Attorney General Kamala Harris, is trying to tackle.
It wasn't perfect before. It wasn't. We're all willing to admit that. But figuring out that we should just be defensive and justify everything we've been doing will never be sufficient.
Harris says she has a plan to fix that. She calls it her 21st Century Policing Working Group, a collection of law enforcement leaders from across the state meeting and working together to solve what she calls a crisis of confidence.
Police will work with the community in a way that treats the community with respect and lets the community know that their voices matter.
Joining Harris today, LA Police Chief Charlie Beck, LA County Sheriff Jim McDonnell, and several other law enforcement officials, all promising to move forward with transparency and outreach programs while acknowledging shortcomings in the past.
Within law enforcement, we need to be ever aware of not simply the work we do protecting our community, but also the role our profession at times plays in perpetuating inequality.
Harris's policing reform efforts, the result of a 3-month-long review of how the California Department of Justice's special agents deal with implicit bias and use of force. Harris says state DOJ agents will now wear body cameras. Local police agencies will still make their own calls on body cameras and procedures, but LAPD Chief Beck says the key is getting officers and the community to realize they're on the same side.
This is about creating empathy for what the public goes through when they deal with a police enforcement action, And then also on the converse side, dealing with what the police go through in an enforcement action.
In downtown LA, Rob Hayes, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
All right, we want to get to some breaking news in Bellflower. There's been quite an accident between a bus and a vehicle right at the intersection of Somerset Boulevard and Woodruff Place. And as we push in from Air 7 HD over the scene live, you can see the vehicle is badly damaged. We're not quite sure of the circumstances of this accident or who is at fault, but we do know that 2 people are listed as critically injured with 3 minor injuries. We don't know the cause, as I said. By the looks of things, the injured probably are coming from that vehicle, but we're trying to get confirmation of that. Again, this is in Bellflower. As we get more information on this accident and the circumstances, we'll bring it to you.
In the meantime, the Ohio man accused of plotting a U.S. attack after returning from terrorist training in Syria has pleaded not guilty. A federal indictment says Abdirahman Sheikh Mohammed left the country a year ago to train with terrorists. It claims he talked about going to a military base in Texas to kill soldiers on his return, with a backup plan to attack a prison. He's charged with supporting terrorism and a terrorist group and making a false statement involving terrorism. 3 people were killed and 5 others injured when a car bomb exploded outside the U.S. consulate in Erbil, Iraq. U.S. officials said there were no American casualties or casualties among consulate personnel or guards. The Islamic State group claimed responsibility for the attack. Also today, Iraqi officials said the last member of Saddam Hussein's inner circle was killed in a military operation near Tikrit. Izzat Ibrahim al-Duri served as Saddam Hussein's vice president and eventually became the leader of the Ba'ath Party.
Stocks dropped sharply on Wall Street in response to stocks overseas. Investors are worried that Greece may default on its debt, and Chinese regulators are also taking steps today to rein in on plunging stock markets. The Dow fell 279 points to 17,826. The Nasdaq finished down 75 points at 4,931. California's unemployment rate dropped for a 3rd straight month. The rate in March was 6.5%. California added 39,800 jobs last month. That's a gain of nearly 1.9 million jobs since the recovery began in 2010. The last time the unemployment rate was this low was in May of 2008. The national unemployment rate remained unchanged at 5.5%.
A federal appeals court in New Orleans today heard arguments on President Barack Obama's executive action to protect millions of immigrants from deportation. Pro-immigrant protesters rallied outside the courthouse during the hearing. A coalition of 26 states, led by Texas, sued to block the plan. Today's hearing was to consider lifting a temporary hold on the plan placed by a federal judge in Texas. The Justice Department argued that Texas has no legal standing in the matter. The panel did not make a ruling, but took the case under advisement.
The Pope may add another stop to his North American trip and hear where he could go. Next at Eyewitness News.
Also, snoring delays a flight before it can even take off, what one passenger reportedly did to another using an unusual weapon.
This entire backyard is kept lush and green by using gray water, and officials are hoping that other people will do this as well. I'm Carlos Granda in Encino, and I'll have that story coming up.
A stunning moment on board a Southwest flight. It happened just before takeoff in Chicago after a bizarre incident of air rage. A passenger attacked another passenger with a pen. That woman was reportedly annoyed by the man's loud snoring, and she's not the only one who lost her temper. ABC's David Curley has more.
This pen turned into a weapon of sorts on a man who was snoring.
Imagine being asleep and then being stung by bees and waking up and going, ow.
Police board. The evidence? Blue ink on his shirt from the pokes or stabs from the woman sitting next to him. This all happened before takeoff from Chicago.
She was smirking and we just never, she said zero.
She was escorted off. Personal space invasion that can get nasty. Remember the woman sleeping on a man's lap? Or the woman who last year threw a soda in a man's face because he used a pair of those knee defenders to keep her seat from reclining. If you talk to flight attendants, air rage is on the rise, partly because of the packed planes and the incredible shrinking seat. Narrower and from 34 inches of legroom a couple of decades ago, cut to 32, 30, even 28 inches in some low-fare operators.
We're headed to more trouble if we don't take this seriously and take a look at what's happening in the aircraft cabin environment today.
The woman with the pen was not charged. She was put on a later flight to New Hampshire. David Curley, ABC News, Reagan-Washington Airport.
When Pope Francis comes to the U.S. in September, he may also pay a visit to Cuba. The visit would come just months after the Pope helped negotiate a diplomatic thaw between the U.S. and Cuba. A Vatican spokesperson says discussion of a possible Cuba stop is still in the early phases, and no firm decision has been made just yet.
All right, turning now to the weather. It's nice to see the red flag warnings have been lifted, and we actually have rain in the forecast, Dallas?
That's right, a double whammy. Oh, it's going to be fantastic. And right now out at Malibu, it's 69 degrees. Humidity starting to creep up a little bit along the coastal areas. Downtown 71, their humidity is 30%, beats that 5% of the earlier couple of days. Laguna Beach, 66. What a beautiful sunset, too. Our friends down in Orange County going to have a great-looking weekend. Tomorrow, probably no marine layer clouds. You're looking at the current temperatures at this hour. But by Sunday morning, I do think the marine layer is going to come back over Orange County, portions of LA County. As a matter of fact, we could see some of the marine layer clouds, the low stratus clouds, roll all the way into downtown Los Angeles because we are changing the flow pattern across Southern California. 81 degrees today, still well above normal downtown. And that big mega low, you can see it swirling around over Colorado. They're loving it over there because they are forecasting another 6 to 10 inches of snow at Aspen tonight. This is the same low that generated the Santa Ana winds earlier this week over Southern California. But the low is weakening now. It's going to pass on to the east. That's going to allow us to get more of an onshore flow coming into Southern California, especially on Sunday, as a new area of low pressure will be developing over Northern California. And that is the one that will give us a chance of some showers in the 7-day forecast. Overnight lows tonight. Have a great night at Big Bear. It's still cold, 29, but I'm going to warm you up. Hang on. A nice day coming up tomorrow. Fraser Park, 42. Fillmore tonight, about 51. High 40. Highs tomorrow, again, a lot like today. Just a couple of degrees cooler in the valleys, but still very nice weather. Pasadena, and 81 degrees tomorrow. Walk for Autism. I'll be out there. Hope you can join me in the morning hours. Michelle will be there. 83 degrees at San Bernardino and Palm Springs at 93. It's time to look at the 7-day forecast. And it looks great tomorrow. 77, a tad cooler than today. And then I think the sea breeze gets working fairly strong on Sunday and Monday, bringing in those marine layer clouds. And then lo and behold, on Wednesday and especially on Thursday of next week, keep the umbrellas handy. We're not out of the rainy season yet, and we could be looking at a chance of showers and, of course, much cooler temperatures next week than what we've had this week with the Santa Ana winds. At the beaches, your coolest day will be Sunday due to the fact that the marine layer clouds, still a beautiful weather, though, at the coast this weekend, just cooler, and then showers during the middle of the week. Could see a slight chance of snow showers above 6,000 feet on Thursday. For heaven's sakes, are we going to get the skis and the snowboards ready again? I don't think so. But it'd be kind of cool to see that. 81 in the high desert tomorrow. Now, friends up in the Antelope Valley, have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you again in about 30 minutes.
All right, Dallas, thank you.
Thanks, David.
Well, new at 7 o'clock, a new way to help beat the drought in Southern California. The LA City Council wants homeowners to use gray water to keep trees healthy. Eyewitness News reporter Carlos Guarda explains how it works.
look up and think about our trees. During this drought, officials worry we might forget to take care of them.
Stop watering your lawn. You must still keep watering your trees. Without trees, there's no Los Angeles, and our trees are in trouble.
Tree experts say they provide a climate-resilient canopy and hold topsoil in place so it doesn't blow away, causing a dust bowl effect. They also keep us cooler.
They help to cool our city, and not only by just shading, but by the water vapor that they release. If you've ever walked under a misting system, you know how much cooler that is. And so that's what the trees are doing for us.
The question is how to water your trees during the drought. Today we toured a home that keeps things green by going gray. It uses gray water. 30 to 40% of the water you use indoors can be reused outdoors, and it's set up so that most of the water here is now captured.
And is stored in this gray water tank here, and it's coming from the showers and the tub and the sinks and the washer, and then it's treated here, and once it's treated, it goes into a 200-gallon storage here on the ground.
Similar systems are common in Australia, which is dealing with long-term drought. Councilman Koretz introduced a motion to make it easier for homeowners here to switch to gray water and to raise awareness of what people can do to conserve all water.
Whenever you plant a new tree, think about where the water is going to come from first. So plant the water before you plant the tree.
And the city is also working on a plan to eliminate permit fees, which are now about $500 for people who want to install gray water systems in their homes. Reporting from Encino, I'm Carlos Granda, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
And we want to hear your ideas for beating the drought. Join our circle of eyewitnesses. Tell us what you're doing to save water. Just post on social media with the hashtag ABC7Drought or upload to the free ABC7 app.
Still to come, a long-term closure will soon get underway on a popular road by the beach.
Up next, we'll show you what's planned to replace the California Incline Bridge.
Also, highway patrol officers are used to seeing a lot of strange sights on their traffic stops, but this one is among the most memorable, what the driver was apparently trying to do. Listen up, West Side drivers. This will be the last weekend you can use Santa Monica's California Incline until next summer. The well-known connector between Pacific Coast Highway and downtown Santa Monica's Ocean Boulevard will be shut down Monday for some much-needed repairs. It's part of a $15 million city plan to rebuild the California Incline and make it more earthquake-safe. Beginning Monday, it will be shut down in both directions until spring of 2016. Traffic officers will be on hand at the details to help control gridlock.
Going hands-free behind the wheel is meant to eliminate distracted driving, but that was not the case for one creative big rig driver. Nebraska state troopers pulled the driver over when they just noticed that he was wearing headphones and found that he had taped his cell phone to the steering wheel. Turns out that he'd done it so he could watch a live stream of a soccer game. Technically, it is hands-free, but that didn't help him any. He was cited, paid more than $200 in fines, had to take the phone off the wheel before being allowed back onto the road.
Wow, that is crazy.
Dangerous.
We are updating the evening's top stories next at 7:30.
Also, you may have to wait a little longer to get your hands on an Apple Watch. Why the company is delaying its store delivery.
The widespread measles outbreak linked to Disneyland is now over, what officials are saying.
An alert goes out about a potential earthquake hazard, the risk of a full ceiling collapse at a local school district. Now, some school buildings are shut down. I'm Miriam Hernandez. Ahead, where those buildings are located and what action the school board is taking.
Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 7:30 p.m. on LA56.
Top story at 7:30, multiple stabbings outside a school in Santa Ana. I'm David Ono.
I'm Michelle Tuzzi, and for Colleen Sullivan, this is Eyewitness News on LA56, LA's only live local newscast at 7 p.m. The violent brawl broke out in an intersection near Community Day Intermediate School around 3 p.m. right after school let out. Police say about 24 teens were involved. A 14-year-old and a 17-year-old were stabbed and rushed to a hospital. A third reported victim was not found. 2 suspects detained have been arrested. The investigation is ongoing.
Authorities in Fresno are trying to figure out what sparked a large explosion that sent 11 people to the hospital. According to investigators, crews were using heavy equipment at the Fresno County Sheriff's gun range this afternoon. It's not known what sparked the blast, but the explosion sent a huge fireball into the air. 11 people were taken to the hospital. Most suffered from burns. The blast also closed down portions of a nearby freeway.
Despite several warnings, the Beverly Hills School Board votes to delay funding to fix more than a dozen buildings at risk for earthquake damage. Many parents and district leaders are upset. Eyewitness News reporter Miriam Hernandez explains why there's such a difference of opinion.
At the famed Beverly Hills High, the show will not go on, at least not in the auditorium, until it is earthquake safe. The same at El Rodeo and Hawthorne School.
We believe the best course of action was to remove that possibility of danger.
An ever-present possibility that even the youngest are prepped for.
I just usually go under the table.
But duck and cover is not enough in the auditorium seating areas where ceiling plaster layered over 80 years weighs as much as 40 pounds per square foot.
All parents just want peace of mind when they send their kids to school, and inevitably the big one's coming.
There's an outcry about how to proceed. The district has identified a total of 14 buildings that need seismic improvements. They qualify for state funding, but accessing that money could take time. Some want to use existing bond money, and there's worry about more taxes. A majority of board members have voted to wait for at least a month to get a second opinion from a structural engineer. This PTA president is urging calm.
That since 1933, with the passing of the Field Act, in California, not one school has ever fallen during an earthquake, and not one life has ever been lost.
Our buildings have been retrofitted over time. They've been improved over time, but some of our buildings are 80, 90 years old. They need to be redone now for the next 50 or so years.
The community, though, remains split. Meantime, the 3 schools face an interim emergency with their auditoriums shut down.
We have no other place to congregate. So our award ceremonies for graduation, all the classes, rehearsals that have gone on for the whole year, they have no place.
This controversy is a heads up to all parents. The Beverly Hills School District is one that could afford the hundreds of thousands of dollars it took to investigate its seismic problems. Many other school districts have not gotten that far. Reporting from Beverly Hills, Miriam Hernandez, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Students in San Dimas show support for a fellow student targeted on Instagram. Students at Lone Hill Middle School and San Dimas High were wearing blue T-shirts today. It's a show of support for the girl who was threatened on Instagram earlier this week. Los Angeles County Sheriff's investigators are trying to find out who's responsible. In the meantime, there's been added security on campus during school. And a lawsuit filed by a professional tennis umpire who was accused, then cleared of murder, has been thrown out. Lois Goodman was accused of beating her husband to death with a coffee mug. He was found dead in their Woodland Hills home. Prosecutors later dropped the charges. Goodman filed a complaint against the LAPD and coroner, claiming false arrest, civil rights violations, and emotional distress. But the judge determined Goodman didn't have enough evidence to back up her claims.
GlaxoSmithKline is recalling remaining doses of a popular 4-in-1 flu vaccine. The company says the vaccines can lose potency over time and fail to adequately protect against some strains of the flu. The recall affects about 1.7 million doses, though the company did not specify how many of those remain on the market. If you have received the vaccine, it just means you may still be susceptible to contracting the flu. The measles outbreak traced to Disneyland has been declared officially over. More than 100 people in California were sickened by the illness. The last case in California was confirmed on March 2nd, but health officials are still encouraging anyone who has not been vaccinated to get the MMR vaccine. Eyewitness News reporter Melissa McBride has more.
California has been free of measles for the last 42 days. That's long enough for health officials to declare the outbreak that officially began in December over. 131 people were infected with the highly contagious virus. The California Department of Public Health says the fast response to the outbreak kept those numbers from climbing higher.
The fact that we can keep this to the numbers that we saw, I think is testament that the public health response was very effective.
42 of the 131 cases were traced to Disneyland. 19% of the people who caught the airborne virus were so sick they had to be hospitalized. In one case, a patient couldn't breathe without a ventilator for 3 weeks.
This individual became ill with measles, collapsed at home, and was transported to a major medical center, required a breathing tube, and was placed on a mechanical ventilator.
Health officials say the outbreak could have been prevented if more people were vaccinated. Many people in California have chosen not to vaccinate their children for personal beliefs. Doctors say measles can be deadly, and not getting vaccinated puts other people at risk, especially infants who are too young to receive the vaccine.
We have a vaccine that is highly effective and widely available, so measles and these types of measles complications should really not occur in this day and age.
Melissa McBride, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
The LA Unified School District is confirming the SEC has opened an informal inquiry into the use of bond funds for the now abandoned iPod project. The $1.3 billion iPad project was intended to provide devices for all students and teachers. District attorneys met with the SEC in late March to answer questions about the use of funds. Just yesterday, the district announced it is demanding a refund from computer giant Apple over the curriculum provided with the devices.
Well, speaking of Apple, the company has announced if you want one of their new watches, you'll have to order it online. They had initially planned to start selling them in stores next week, but with limited supply and high global demand, the company says they are limiting sales to their web store, at least for the next few weeks. Apple says those who placed early orders should start receiving their shipments starting today. And now the latest on P22, the mountain lion that roams Griffith Park, who does not have an Apple Watch but does have a GPS collar. Officials are now releasing some of that data from earlier this week when the big cat was found underneath a home in Los Feliz. It shows P22 had only been in the crawl space for a few hours before he was discovered Monday afternoon. By 2 a.m. Tuesday, he had left the home. If you're wondering, the collar does not provide real-time data. It only records his location 8 times a day, mostly at night when he is most active.
Well, much more news still ahead.
Coming up, a very special surprise today for a local high school student. Find out what happened and why he almost missed it.
Later, do you like Spam? The food, not the email. Find out where you can get it for free this weekend.
Yummy, yummy. Hi, everyone. I'm meteorologist Dallas Raines. I have some big changes in the weather, and that's coming up next.
The Braille Institute is shining a spotlight on its services as part of the National Library Week. The library serves 30,000 readers all across Southern California who are visually impaired or have other reading disabilities. It houses 1.2 million volumes, with 3,000 to 5,000 going out on loan every day. The library is also embracing technology. As digital downloads become more popular, clients can even call in and have newspapers or magazines read to them.
Students from around the world are converging in Garden Grove this week for the U.S. Academic Decathlon National Championship. For the first time ever, 4 students from Garfield High School in East LA will be attending, competing not as a team but as individuals.
You don't expect these miracles to happen, but they do.
To get to nationals was practically impossible for us, but because they opened up the individual competition, all 4 of us were able to be here.
In the team competition, Granada Hills Charter School is representing California. The event continues through tomorrow afternoon. Next year's national championship will be held in Alaska.
A very, very big surprise for a graduating Arcadia High School student today.
The Edison International 2015 Edison Scholars. He is going to receive $40,000 for college.
Brandon Caroni couldn't stop smiling. He has 40,000 reasons with a college scholarship from Edison International. He almost missed his own big day and tried to call in sick this morning.
I have no idea, because my mom was like, you need to go to school, and I was like, oh, this is why.
Tutoring and there's so many other things that he does. He's able to keep his grades up, to work hard, he stays up late. I'm just so proud of him.
Brandon is one of 30 students selected out of more than 2,000 applicants. He's headed to UCLA with an interest in biological medicine and possibly medical school.
Wow, smart guy.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we wish him well. The weekend is here, and so is a slight cool down. Meteorologist Alice Rank will have your complete forecast.
And start your engines. You can hear the roar by the shore. Coming up at sports, a preview of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach.
What's old is new again. I'm Leanne Suter, coming up a sneak peek at a one-of-a-kind sale at Goodwill.
under 4 meters.
The SpaceX supply ship arrived today at the International Space Station. The crew captured the Dragon capsule with the help of a giant robot arm. The capsule delivered the world's first espresso machine designed exclusively for astronauts. Italy sent the espresso maker for Italian astronaut Samantha Cristoforetti. She's been stuck with instant coffee, poor thing, since her mission began in November. The capsule also delivered more than 4,000 pounds of groceries, experiments, and equipment.
2 words, free spam. Now, if you like spam, you're probably asking yourself where, how, and when. The answer is Long Beach right now and through the weekend. The Spam American food truck is kicking off a nationwide tour at the Long Beach Grand Prix. Spam has partnered with local chefs to create one-of-a-kind dishes featuring the potted meat. For example, coconut spam spears with pineapple chutney. And best of all,
it's free spam. People, it's amazing. Everybody has a spam story. And so when you go engage the crowds and say, would you like to try some spam today? By and large, the reaction is absolutely, oh my gosh, I haven't had spam in a while. I'd love to try some again today.
It looks like even Sir Spam-A-Lot is getting in on the free spam action. The spam truck will be out there all weekend.
All right. Sounds great.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you know what's great? Our weather. It's beautiful today, and there's even a chance of rain.
That's right. I'm going to try some of that spam tomorrow down at the races. Spam fries. Yeah. That sounds good to me. Riverside tonight. What a beautiful evening it is. Wind out the northwest at 14. Big Bear Lake 52 has been cold. We're going down again tonight around freezing. But tomorrow, I think I'm going to warm you up just a little bit, so hang on for that. Downtown today was 81. That was well above the 73 normal. All right, let's look at the wind flow map. That tells us so much about the weather patterns. When they're blowing from the land out to sea, that is a Santa Ana. That is dry, no rain. But now, tomorrow and on Sunday, we're going to start seeing a flow come in from the ocean a little bit. That's going to be great. The marine layer should increase. And that's going to set us up for a change of the weather pattern next week. That low pressure that's been so strong out over Colorado, you can see it circulating there, drawing in air from the north. And that's why it's been so cold, as I mentioned, out over the mountain areas of Southern California. But for us, over the weekend, we're going to see a shift in the weather pattern. This low will head on out into the plain states. And our winds are going to start coming in from the ocean. And that's going to generate the marine layer. And then next week, there's going to be an area of low pressure formed just off Northern California coastline. Low pressure, remember, that's what this is with clouds. And that's going to move down into Southern California. Give us a slight chance of some showers on Wednesday. And maybe a better chance on Thursday. 7-day forecast coming up just a second. 55 in Huntington Beach tonight. Glendale, you're at 53. Skies are clear. Beautiful Saturday tomorrow. Malibu about 71. You move inland, it jumps 10 degrees to 81 at Encino. 77 downtown Redondo Beach, 72. And out in the IE tomorrow, Riverside checks in about 84. And Palm Springs has the warmest temperature at 93. Let's look at that 7-day forecast. It's exciting because with this weekend changing and the weather cooling off on Sunday with a marine layer, and then that new area of low pressure coming down the coastline Wednesday and Thursday, as far as timing is concerned, it looks like Wednesday will be a slight chance of showers, but a better chance on Thursday with temperatures very cool, only in the 60s. After 83 tomorrow. At the beaches, 71. 66 on Sunday. Then really cool weather at the beaches Wednesday, Thursday, and into Friday. In the mountain areas, it is going to warm up tomorrow. Great air quality. Enjoy that before a chance of snow showers above 6,000 feet on Thursday. High desert. I got some wonderful weather for you. It's a little breezy in the afternoon, but I hope you have a wonderful weekend up in the high desert. That is it from the Weather Center tonight. Back to you guys.
All right, Dallas, thank you.
All right, David.
The NBA playoff series begins tomorrow, and the most intriguing matchup may be the one between the Clippers and the San Antonio Spurs Sunday night at Staples Center. The Clippers have great respect for the defending champs, but they don't fear them.
You have to try to limit their easy baskets. You have to try to limit their bench. It poses a lot of problems defensively, but like like every other team, they're beatable.
I've been saying all year that we've gotten mentally stronger, so that's always been our weakness. So continue to stay mentally strong and, get tested against the best team in the league, first round.
I've never met an unbeatable team. I've not seen that before. Everybody's beatable. You just got to hang in there long enough to do it.
Plenty of playoff action this weekend on ABC7 or your Watch ABC app. On Saturday, it's the Warriors and the Pelicans at noon, followed by Sports Zone. On Sunday at high noon, it's the upstart Celtics against LeBron and company in Cleveland. Sports Zone follows. The three-day Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach begins today with qualifying for the Pro, Celebrity, and Tudor United Sports Car Championship races and the KMC Wheels Super Drift Challenge. Organizers expect more than 180,000 spectators over 3 days, including more than 80,000 on Sunday, and they couldn't have asked for better weather.
It's always nice here.
So they say.
I always, and every time I come here, it's like this. I can't complain.
Summer's coming. Growing up in Newport Beach, about 10 miles down the road, we knew summertime was coming. Look at this day.
On to hockey. Yesterday at this time, we talked about how veterans Corey Perry and Ryan Getzlaf needed to lead the way if the Ducks were going to win another Stanley Cup. And last night, Perry scored 2 goals. Getzlaf won as the Ducks took Game 1 of their playoff series against Winnipeg. They won 4-2.
In Toronto, Canada, they have a very brave raccoon, or maybe he's just crazy. The adventurous raccoon climbed a giant crane up to one of the high platforms. It's 58 stories and about 700 feet off the ground. From the look on the raccoon's face, he loved the view. This photo was taken by the crane operator. He says the raccoon looked around for a while and then slowly headed back to the ground, and he made it safe and sound.
Unbelievable. Well, I love this story. Every now and then, you meet an animal that wants to change their spots, and that may be the case for Wilma, who appears to be a horse in a pig's body. She's a wild pig who lives in Hawaii, but all she wants to do is hang out with the horses. Lucky for Wilma, she was born next to the Hawaii Polo Club. It started when she was just a piglet. She left her litter behind to wander over to the club.
We'd see them on the side of the road, and this is the only one that had the sense to come over to this side of the road, I guess.
She thinks they're her herd.
I think she thinks she's a horse. This is her family. This is what she has left.
Hilarious. The horses don't seem to mind. They all get along just fine. The only worry is Wilma likes to roam around a lot, and there is a lot of hunting of wild pigs in the area. So they've outfitted her with this special harness to let hunters know that she is not so wild anymore. But a wild pig wandered out there and just started hanging out.
Quite a story. I love the story. Wilma's really cute.
Yeah, very cute.
All right, still ahead here at 7:30, and tonight on Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC7, we'll have more on our breaking news. A crash involving several vehicles in Bellflower leaves 2 people critically hurt. Was street racing involved? Plus, your personal information sold to the highest bidder, the Uber expose. These stories and all the late-breaking news on Southern California's #1 late newscast, Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC7.
Listen up, comic lovers. Here's your chance to flex your inner geek and become a part of the superhero history. DC Comics is out to break the Guinness World Record for the most people dressed as a superhero around the world in one day. LA is the last stop for the fans to dress as Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, The Flash, or any DC Comics superhero. And if you want to be part of it, show up in full costume at Hollywood and Highland tomorrow between 10 a.m. and noon.
Well, here's your chance to get your hands on a little bit of fashion history. It's a one-of-a-kind clothing sale featuring items from the past 100 years. Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter gives us a look at some of the unique items catching people's eyes.
It's a sale a century in the making. Vintage fashions from every decade, all donated to Goodwill Southern California.
Everybody's shopping in the now moment, and they don't think about the fact that Goodwill in Los Angeles in Southern California has been here for 100 years. And over that time, we've had very generous donations.
Sunday, it's a one-day, once-in-a-lifetime sale, a vintage palooza, offering some of the best fashions Goodwill has to offer.
After really considering how large the collection was and realizing that we weren't really an archival facility, we decided that we were going to make the items available for the very first time to the public so that they could enjoy them.
The sale at the Goodwill Community Enrichment Center in Atwater Village has hundreds of priceless pieces. Beaded dresses from the early 1900s, funky prints and knits from the 70s, and the glamour days of the 90s. Oh, and then there are the hats. 700 of them. Every style and color. Workers come through Goodwill's massive collection, pulling 200 key items for its historical reference compilation. The rest of the gems are up for sale. Prices range from $29 to $200. All the money going back into the community.
93% of the proceeds from the sale are going to go directly into funding our no-cost programs for individuals with disabilities and other vocational barriers.
There are some ground rules to the sale. Only 10 items per person, and the sale runs 10 to 8 on Sunday, or until all of these fantastic vintage fashions last. In Atwater Village, Leanne Suter, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
That's great, isn't it?
Beautiful fashions for a great cause, too.
Absolutely, and she did a great job on that story. Thanks for joining us for Eyewitness News at 7:30 on LA56. Law and Order SVU is coming up next.
Eyewitness News continues at 11 p.m. on ABC7. Thanks for watching.
Good night.
This is ABC7 Weather with Dallas Rain.
Some changes in the weather coming up this weekend as we zoom in today. You're looking at generally clear skies across Southern California, but a new area of low pressure